work on this all year, and it's just so exciting when we're here. I want to thank any teachers, parents, and committee members that are here today. I want to especially thank my group of talented judges. Could you raise your hand? Our illustrious Wilma Davidson, Susan Klaus, and Ross Petty. Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. I couldn't have done it without you. We all enjoyed our reading our students' pieces so much this year. I will start off with our first place winner, Jade Macabre Pratt. Hold on 1 second. I've scared them all to death. They have it.
So my piece is a fiction piece. It's called I Am No Hero. Nobody will ever know, I tell myself as I work up the courage to approach Raina's diary while she's taking an innocent shower after a long day at the beach. She trusts me enough to leave her alone in her room. I can't betray that. But I need to know what she really thinks about me behind my back. I say to myself, inching closer to the worn red booklet peeking out of Raina's bedside drawer table. It's the paranoia again. I always think this, everyone secretly hates me and I know it. She hates me, she hates me, she hates me. I hear it in my head. Curiosity reached out from my soul and stole a notebook for me. I know it's wrong, but I thought I had the right to know. Dear Diary, something happened the other day, and I don't really know how to explain it. I don't know if I remember this right. It's about Dad. He seemed drunk when he came home from his night out. I know he'll never see this, but I'm still kind of scared. He was inappropriate, and even that feels wrong to say, and it's a generous euphemism for what he did with me. I don't know if I should tell my mom or anyone, or if I should save myself the shame. I don't know how else to put it. I feel dirty, and I want his hands to leave my skin, but they won't. I stopped myself dead in my tracks. I was bulging from my skull and vision beginning to blur. I did not have the right to know that. I closed the red booklet and carefully placed it back in the drawer where it once resided, undisturbed, wishing I could reset my decision and go back to 1 minute ago when I was less wise. I feel so selfish. She did not want me to know that. I hate myself so much for looking. I know that if she didn't already hate me, she would if she did a terrible thing that I just did, the betrayal of her trust that I just committed. Shit, Raina, I'm so sorry. I mumbled to myself, alone in her room, with only the eyes of that red devil of a diary staring at me, judging my decision. I asked, why would I do that to myself? As if I am the victim of some mysterious lack of bodily autonomy that caused her the paranoid demon inside me. But I know I am no victim of the sorts. Overwhelmed by shock, I nearly failed to see the room door swing open. Shit, what am I going to say to her? I think in deep panic. My soul leaves my body for a split second, and then I see it's only Raina's dad. As I process the blatant correlation between what I just read and the man standing in front of me, I am no longer relieved by his presence in place of my friends. Lou, was Raina in the shower? His voice sounded so warm and kind when I last heard it, but now it became monstrous and predatory. He appeared disheveled, possibly intoxicated once again. I wanted this man away from my friend so badly. I felt enough anger to take the nearest heavy object straight to his head, leaving him gone forever and my friend free from his touch. However, I did nothing. I did nothing as I quietly affirmed his question. Yeah, she's in the shower. I said in a near whisper. Thanks. Spoken from the drunken voice backing out outside of the door. Sitting on Raina's bed, I now feel dizzy. I'm actively allowing my friend's father to do this to her. I don't deserve friends. I ruined it like I did just now. I'm torn between getting involved in something that I had no business even knowing or letting this happen right now. I want so badly to save her and to help her out of this situation, but I don't. I realize the subconscious decision I made when I hear Raina's bathroom door open, a shower curtain then slides across the rod, a slight shriek quickly muffled. I sit there, ears ringing to the point where I can no longer subject myself to these sounds, even if I wanted to. I sit there, allowing this to happen. I'm no victim, I am no hero, but I am a terrible friend. Loud footsteps reminiscent of a wild beast stomping away in victory exit the bathroom. The phrase stands there, alone for at least another 30 minutes. I too stayed dormant for this amount of time, wishing to be oblivious to what has happened, and not as if I ended up doing anything either way. I wish the extent of my vices was my curiosity, however, they were so much deeper now. As Rena approaches the door to step back into her room, I quickly lie and make up an excuse to leave, worsening my offenses even further. Leaving her house, I whisper, "I'm so sorry," Rena, as if those words could make up for the evil that I was leaving her to, knowing damn well that today would not be the last time she experiences. Yet I still do nothing.
Thank you, Jade. Nice job. All right, our next winner is Jaiseline Martinez Rivera, and her piece is called Climbing Past the Number 6.
So my piece is called Climbing Past the Number 6. Ready? The number 6 controls my life. Every 6 years, my life shatters. The number 6 means losing friends, growing family, changing cultures, and living with the dread of impermanence. I hate the number 6. I was born to teen parents in a small Puerto village where dirt floors were standard. My mom was only 15, so we lived in my abuelo's house. Our backyard was the forests and open spaces of every adventurous child's dream. At 6 years old, my expertise was climbing trees, quickly learning that the finest fruit grew at the treetops. Summiting the very top of Genepa trees gave me a sense of accomplishment, sweet fruit, and a view of surrounding landscape, begging me to sit and daydream. It was freedom. Then 6 consecutive bullets. The neighborhood was in panic and I couldn't find my family. Mom came running, then carried me past a crowd, futilely shielding my eyes. I saw police, blood pooling, and shoes sticking out from a body covered with black plastic. I can still close my eyes and see my abuela weeping inconsolably over a body wearing the Air Jordans her fiancé was so proud of. Within days, we were on a plane to live with family in Brooklyn. I did not speak English and had never attended school. Freedom and innocence were replaced by cultural, linguistic, and emotional isolation. The Brownsville neighborhood was as rough as Puerto Rico. Daily news was filled with death and gang violence. Experience made my mom hyper-vigilant, walking us to and from school with a watchful eye on strangers and a hair-trigger's sense of evil intent. I went from freely discovering a backyard forest to being imprisoned in a small government apartment. Under my parents' rules, I was protected, but my inner explorer was unfulfilled, desperate to experience the world in person. Instead of exploring outside, I would stare out my window watching the other kids play. My escape was FaceTiming with my best friend, engaging for hours about our favorite topic, the future. She talked about opening the first Black-owned 5-star restaurant in Brooklyn, and I shared my dreams of becoming a neurologist and exploring the unknowns of the brain. We were determined to climb out of Brownsville and to the very top. One summer evening when I was 12, my mom took us to a movie. While walking home, 2 gangs started shooting as we crossed the street. My mom grabbed my sister and me, covering us as we crouched behind a car. It was not like a movie and terror defies description. It was 5 minutes that lasted a lifetime with nausea, fear, and helplessness punctuated by the screams of boys only a few years older than me. The number 6 did it again, and within days, our rusty car was packed and headed to Sarasota, Florida. Torn from what I knew, I was thrown into this tiny town where all I could think about were my friends back home. Everyone had a sense of connection, and I was not the minority suffering great loneliness. To cure my emptiness, I began volunteering. The more I helped others, the more joyful I became, for I had a purpose. Determined to fulfill my inner explorer, I climbed the limbs of leadership positions and broke the norm. I became the first Black Hispanic to be awarded the Key Club Lieutenant Governor position in my division, and the first Black Hispanic to be student government president. As I meet new people through my various leadership roles, I strive to hear all underrepresented voices. As these 6 years in Sarasota end, I have learned that every change happens for a reason. I now hold the number 6 close to my heart, for it has made me the resilient, compassionate person I am. I love the number 6.
You did a nice job reading that. If you can hold this up over there, someone's going to get your photo. Great job. Congratulations. Our next winner, her name is Alma Dashberg. She had a standardized test today, and the governor would not let her off to come here. I can't imagine why. This is the most important thing, you know. So her lovely mother, April Flackney, from New College, is here to read her piece today. Thank you, April. Yeah, I'm a proud mom. Hello there. I'm a proud mom. I'm not Alma Dashberg.
So this is,
Okay. You can hear me?
yes,
Okay. So this is Alma's essay. It's called Mirrored. I have endured my life through a mirror. I have thrived in its crystallized tears, disappeared in fractured backdrops. I have shaken sobs from April buds and glanced a cold brevity of loneliness in twirling moments. I was formally introduced to the mirror at 3 years old when I first stepped foot into a padded ballet studio. Well, on that day, I sang a lullaby and greeted its gleaming surface, surely a prehistory of settled stone weighted in its rippled reflections. In front of mirrors, I first glimpsed objects and their captors, first negotiated reality and escape. Like lovers trying to hide from each other at every turn, I danced and learned of stony reflections. By 11, cold eyes were staring back at me as I had memorized how my teachers and the older girls battled the mirror. On the street, it was my protector. In the studio, my muse, and at home, it was my reminder. I became a specter of my own making. When I spoke, I heard my words reverberate through the mouths of a stranger, and when I felt, I locked the door, as if it was not my right, but rather hers, the girl of glass, the girl who stared back a second too long. When I was 7, I visited Kassel, Germany with my family. We walked past looming stone pillars and traveled whole horizons to the various art installations spread throughout the city. One was a room of dozens of mirrors. From each side, you are affronted by your own flight, searching through hallways for an exit, bumping into cheap clarity and benign comfort. I could not find my way out, and perhaps it was because I felt foolish, and my ego comes swinging at any slight diversion from success. Or perhaps it was because suddenly I felt small in the largest ways. But in this moment, I formalized my obsession and aversion to mirrors. I have seen myself grow up through its lenses of glittering gold, of harsh words and point shoes, and my own starved glances at a merciless body, of staved-off traditions of womanhood and slipping childhood and disappearance. I have pleaded for relief from the demon of food and scarred wrists and missiles to holy ground. I have acted roles, believed in them, and now still live with them, even if they haunt the day and construct the night. There are many times I felt glad to be outside of myself,
like when I would walk the streets of Jaffa with my cousin and lap up ideals from the conflicted streets and adored souks. In those moments, Hebrew, a constant battle partner who holds me in the highest regard before dropping me without notice into a stream of non-belonging, seems to course through my blood and smell thick of return and hope. Like when I pick my way through the beaches of Tel Aviv as one of my cousins tells me about school, and the warm scent of familiar heartbreak comforts me into laughter. Most recently, I sat in my aunt's former apartment, the one with aged rugs and wilting flowers, cross-legged on the couch with my aunt, and I think we talked till our throats were coated with desert winds. She borrowed my phone to draft a message to a boy she was meeting, but even with only half understanding, I just enjoyed being her confidant. In ancient whispers, I saw myself from above, like the haze of another life, where this was our Saturday tradition, exchanging frivolous secrets and tossed out fears. It is easy to grant alternative paths more delicacy and grace than the one that is written. It is easier to imagine home in a place one has never had to claim. I've afforded more dignity to misplaced homesickness than to green horizons and candescent gold. I've looked delusion right in the face with willing disillusionment and chose to stay. Sitting comfortably among the fortress of pines and palms, I have wrestled fervently with the vicious desire to rely on orientalized conceptions, to be the proprietor of untrue alcoves, as long as they offered me some superficial sense of self. Yet I get to yield this struggle due to my place and choice, for one has only a sense of home when one imagines leaving it, and after that, one can never return. Despite my restlessness to get away, I never will, for my success is my downfall, and my downfall, my hope. In the yellow summers of childhood, I watched myself carefully from the glassy, faraway perch. I saw myself in the echoed choruses of melting passion fruit popsicles, knives in the old city, cookies with my saba, and whispers of news headlines, unchanging and violent. I think that the outer coats of roughness seep into my consciousness with every turn because I believe it gives me a right to that particular mirror. If it is blood-stained and foggy, if it is full of coarse memories and illusions, I can still see myself, crystal clear, like the ocean's edge. I get my best ideas when I dance, whether it be the swinging salsa of a Harlem escape or the rhythmic release of contemporary arches. I am overwhelmed with notions eluding recovery even seconds later. In the studio, I face my comfortable disembodiment and confront my acknowledged irrationality. For me, there is no escape from dance, because smooth wood under my feet, billowing air, and fresh cloth seem to bolster my pulse and course. I cannot speak of my endearment for dance, only its torture, or else I release myself from my favorite observer. Though my words are sharp and raised, I pirouette with them, sweet as honey. I see myself most strongly in people, however they choose to be that day. I carry it with me. I admire stories of charm and care, those who understand the details of humanity and learn best from its frenzy, carrying conversations in their eyes. Recently, I fell into talking with an old man in a cafe. He was quite open, but saw himself as guarded. Life had run its mistrials and weaved its misfortunes, yet he still seemed to believe in its cliches. He told me that every door is an opportunity and nothing was by chance or by trajectory. I think he firmly believed in second chances and felt free side by side with leaping interruptions and increased volume. I waved goodbye to him after some time and we returned to our cold coffee, his from conversation, mine from its habitual ice nature. I like the mirror on those days, the way it glimpses foreshadowing and catches on the hymns of interaction. I like to be the listener, or the continuer, or the considerer. I enjoy offering up questions or volunteering anecdotes, and I do it with outside viewership, only this time it is embossed with the lettering of another. Typically, I remember mirrors from her cruelty and colors. I remember mirrors from his mockery and grin. I am mirrored in za'atar topping everything and olive oil soaked and stacked. I am mirrored in leering eyes on the street as they look to buy and sell. I've had to fix my gaze on traffic lights and hope to make it pass, all the while feeling the scan that churns me and spits me back out anew and for their favor. I am mirrored in deep veins of sorrow and an ancestor's dream. I am mirrored in the choreographed kitchen dance of midday and hushed tones of evening remnants. I am mirrored in my hopes and aspirations and in my temper and redemption. I am mirrored by romantics and by my favorite gift, non-feeble love. I know love from porch swing classics and woodchopper tables on rainy days. I know love from snowflakes nestled on my aunt's front window and my grandfather's house in a blue Chicago, wrapped in the mirth of cinnamon-infused belonging. I know love from shouts on the Shankin Street, from cracked pine nuts and dirty roads and pristine glasses of steaming black tea, from the clinking poetry of Shabbat dinner, melting candles and spinning Ferris wheels, the swells of orchestras and museum halls. I have been formed and melded from wafts of language and tears of distance, the licking of the Gulf, the tousle of the Mediterranean. I have pitied myself as torn and fractured with no formal attachment in being. I have written verses with the same meaning over and over. I cried when things seemed to have departed and laughed like no other, for I cannot imagine to be without joy. And mostly, I revel in a life so full, so passionate, so new and continuous, as it stares back at me for a second too long after I've moved on.
Thank you, April. I will let Alma know you did it justice. So thank you. I have her certificate check and ribbon. Thank you. I enjoyed it. Alrighty, well, we're moving right along now. Our next winner is Olivia Sarr for her piece called Scotch. And no, we will not be serving any today, sorry. Don't mean to tease you.
Good afternoon, my name is Olivia Sarr. I am a Lakewood Ranch High School senior, and I'll be going to FSU for business. Today I'm going to be reading for you my poem titled Scotch. Scotch has two meanings: alcohol, or to prevent disable. Bumbling, bubbling, wintering blue. With just one taste, I fell for you. I licked the scotch from off my lips, and thus drunken stupor scotched my hips. Tumbling, fumbling with flimsy foam, my fingers plated the iron kiln, that which molten kingdoms kill, for the right to raise the iron gill. Bumbling, blubbering, blistering blue, in every book the world knew you, in every nook, cranny, and cove, your color spilled, and even dough.
Thank you, Olivia. You did a super job on that. Here, if you could stand up. JoJo wants to get your picture. Okay, last but not least, I have a wonderful student here who is from Sarasota High School, Anna Lazara.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a senior at Sarasota High School, and in the fall, I'll be attending New College of Florida. And this is my short story, The Longest Day of My Life. The metal cot creaked beneath me as I rolled onto my back. My eyes squinted up at the dimly lit bulb that dangled by a wire from the ceiling. The papery stiff sheets laid on the floor like defeated ghosts. I guess I had one of those nights again. I didn't worry this morning though, because last night's slumber was the last of one of those nights. Those nights where I feel like I'm trapped in my nightmares, held captive by some force and subjected to torture and torment by ghouls and ghastly things. I've always wondered what everyone else first thinks about when they wake up in the morning. Since I've been here, I've thought about the same two things every time I wake. First, I count. 17 hours this morning, I think it was. Then I think of my mom. I worried about her more than I worried about the ghouls and the ghastly things that haunted me each night. All I could do was pray that she would find a way to make peace with what happened, and that she would forgive me and understand. All I could do was pray. I sat erect on the metal cot. I gazed down at a paper sack near the corner of the room. It was no different than the past 272 paper sacks that they had given me before. It contained an apple, sliced already, soaked in lemon juice to keep it from browning, a piece of bread, and one of those squeezable yogurt pouches like the ones you get as a kid in your school cafeteria. Of course, none of these items required utensils to eat. They would never trust me with anything like that. They didn't even bother to come in and deliver my breakfast to me personally today. It must have been because today is, well, today. The remainder of the morning passed by like any other, except today just felt long. Like someone took those 17 hours, well, 15 now, and stretched them out like an accordion. Unfortunately though, today did not make fun sounds like accordions and steel drums and fluttery flutes. The only sound of today was the constant, piercing, buzzing sound that came from that dangling light bulb. That sound managed to ingrain itself into my mind. But today, I did not worry, because it would be gone soon. Gone, along with the ghouls and the ghastly things, and every piece of my mind that reminded me I was in pain. 10 hours. I did not bother to eat lunch. I was occupied with other thoughts, mostly worry, some fear. I still could not force my mom out of my mind. I stared into her eyes. I whispered, "You always told me to stand up for myself." I did, and I'm sorry. I wish I could have said that to her and not the picture of her taped to the concrete wall. I wondered what she thought of me. All I could do was pray and hope that she was proud of me for doing what she raised me to do. I think I prayed enough because I've convinced myself that she would have told me to do it if she were there. She would have told me to fight back. Fight for myself for once. Fight against the ghouls and the ghastly things. I can now count the hours left on the clock on one hand. 5. I could see a faint beam of sunlight pouring through the small sliver of window near the ceiling. My worry had subsided, for I knew in the deepest depths of my soul that my mom would have done the same to him if she were in my position. And just knowing that made my heart settle into my chest, restoring my peace, at least until there were 2 hours. 2 remained, and a heavy weight of fear filled the air of my small concrete cell. In 120 minutes, I knew the ghouls and the ghastly things would be gone. But what if they followed me on my way out? What if they never left me alone? What if they slither up the chair that I sit in and decide they want to stick to my soul? The guards would do nothing. They would let the monsters get me. They saw me as the monster, a monster who killed another being. But the truth was, he was the monster. He was the ghoul, the ghastly thing that held me captive and tortured and tormented me. He kept my mind locked in chains to keep me under his control. He stole my freedom from me. So I stole his freedom from him. 1. I sat in the corner of my cell. I clung to the picture of my mom. I just prayed and prayed and prayed that it would be quick, that it would be over soon, and I would be free from the ghouls and the ghastly things that kept me locked up in this place. I heard sounds of jangled keys and footsteps outside. 2 men in uniform unlocked my cell. I did not look at them. I just prayed that at least it would be short, shorter than the longest day of my life.
Thank you, Nana. I'm going to have your picture taken with your award. Let me hold this for you. Nice job and nice reading it. I want to thank all of my writers today for sharing your gift. with the world and with us. We're going to have 5 new writers out there in the world, and I can't wait to see what they're going to write. They've learned to be good listeners, to be good writers. Good job.
Amazing. I want to just give you 2 thoughts as we end what has been a wonderful day.